Good morning, Year 9, and welcome to our Options Assembly on GCSE French and German. I'm delighted to be speaking to you today about a topic which is obviously really close to my heart, and I hope that you will pay attention and listen to all the points that I'm making. And obviously, if you have any questions at the end, please do let me know, and I will be able to answer them by email or by coming to see me. So today I'm going to talk about why I think picking a language for GCSE is really important. When I was actually at school choosing my own GCSE options in your position now, choosing a GCSE for a language wasn't just an option, it was actually compulsory. So all students had to take one, every single adult had to take a GCSE in a language when like the adults of my age. I actually chose to do two simply because I obviously love languages. I think that learning a language is a completely vital life skill, and we're going to go through today some of the reasons why. This is a really famous quote from Nelson Mandela. If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. I'm sure you'll have heard this quote before. It's a really famous one. And the point that Nelson is trying to really get across here is that when you learn a foreign language, you're actually able to properly communicate with another person. You know, let's say you were doing a business deal with someone in Germany. That person probably speaks English. You know, it's entirely possible that that person learned English in school, just like you learned French and German in school. And so they would probably be able to communicate with you in English. But if you're able to show that you have put that effort in and you are able to speak to that person in their own language, that means so much more to that person. And you're therefore far more likely to have a successful business deal, a far more successful business relationship if you are able to communicate with that person in that language. If you ever think about a time that maybe you've been abroad, you maybe learnt the word for just thank you or hello or something. As soon as you say that in that other person's language, they automatically respond a lot better to you because you've made that effort to sort of communicate with them. Another really important reason to learn a language is that once you've learned one language, it's actually so much easier to learn other languages because it kind of changes the way that your brain thinks about things. If you think of your brain as a muscle, it trains your muscle of your brain to be able to do lots of different things that won't just help you in languages. If you're able to learn French or German at school, you know, then when you go to university, if you really want to learn Spanish, for example, let's say, you can study Spanish from completely like zero understanding. It's called ab initio, which means from the beginning. So, for example, you could do French with ab initio Spanish or German with ab initio Spanish at university, or you could do any other subject. So you could do history with ab initio Spanish or economics with ab initio Spanish or law. I mean, any subject you can pair with languages. And if you have already studied another language at school, so you've got a French or German GCSE, that university is far more likely to accept you because they know that you've already got these skills. So I wish I could speak another language. This is probably, as a languages teacher, whenever I sort of tell people that I'm a languages teacher, this is probably the phrase that I hear the absolute most. So whether I'm speaking to my own friends or whether I'm speaking to parents of students that I teach, or perhaps even older students in sixth form who didn't choose a language, they almost always say, I really wish that I could speak another language. I really wish I'd paid more attention or listened more or not messed around in French or German when I was younger. I wish I'd carried on learning a language at GCSE and at A level. It's one of those kind of annoying things that I think you don't really realise how important it is until it's too late. So, well, it's never too late to learn a language. You can always pick up a language later on, but until you've left education and then it's harder to learn a new language. So you're in such a privileged position at this point where you're able to access language learning for free. You get access to these courses and you don't need to pay for them. As an adult, if you want to start learning a new language, of course you can, it's entirely possible. It's a lot harder and you're going to need to do a course which you'll have to pay for. And they can actually be very pricey and they're very popular. Lots of people sign up to learn a language as an adult because they realise that they should have learnt one when they were younger. It's one of those things that, speak to your parents, speak to your older brothers or sisters, your aunts, your uncles, and ask them what they think about it because it's one of those things that it's one of people's biggest regrets, I think, often once they've left school and if they didn't learn a language when they had the chance. Um, It's very, very common for people to try and learn a new language as an adult. And your brain, as you're a young person, accepts that new knowledge so much easier and quicker. And obviously, you get the lessons for free at the moment. So language is often seen as a very logical subject. So if you're good at maths, it often means that you'll be really good at languages as well, because putting sentences together in a really ordered, sensible way it is obviously very similar to a language and to a mathematical problem. Languages are also really creative. So by the time that you get to GCSE, you're really able to give your own opinion, and you're able to start to say the things that you want to be able to say, rather than being sort of limited by the language that you can speak. So it's kind of, I mean, in my opinion, it's the perfect subject because it has logic and, correct answers, like definite correct answers, and it has things that you just need to learn, facts and that kind of thing. But it also has a huge amount of creativity and freedom of independence, because you can write or talk about anything that you want to. It's a really, really exciting subject, which allows you in the future to speak to more people than other people. It allows you to visit more places. It allows you to do more business deals, work in a higher variety of companies. I mean, almost every single company in the UK and in the rest of the world as well will consider you so much more employable if you can speak another language. Think of working in a shop, for example. If you can speak another language and communicate with more customers, that's amazing. And they would definitely 100% hire you over somebody else who only spoke English. If you work in banking, if you work in engineering, if you work as a doctor, in all of these careers, I mean, pretty much in any career, speaking another language is hugely going to benefit you, because you'll be able to really bring something to that profession or office that no one else can. So it makes you completely unique. It makes your CV and your applications for jobs and universities so much more impressive. And it essentially means you're going to end up getting a better job that you probably enjoy more, and that also probably means that you'll be paid more, which, isn't nothing. It is pretty important at the end of the day. So why might somebody choose a language? Obviously, a language degree is really important, as we've discussed. But one of the things that students sometimes say to me is, they talk about the fact they don't really want to learn French because, they're not interested in moving to France, or they don't know lots of French people that they want to be able to communicate with. And I understand that, but that's not the only reason that learning a language is useful. Yes, obviously, learning French is good because you can then speak French, and learning German is great because you can then speak German. But actually, the brain processes that are required to learn French and German teach you so many other things than just learning that language. So yes, you'll end up being able to speak that language, but also you are going to be able to communicate with people in a better way. It brings you so much more confidence because you've had to do that speaking exam, which is part of the GCSE. It's the only GCSE other than English which actually teaches you to do speaking, essentially. It's the only exam that's got any kind of speaking involved, and we teach you to actually properly how to speak, how to back up your argument, along with obviously improving your confidence. I think it's one of the GCSEs that hugely impacts people's confidence in a really positive way. It really increases your communication skills, which are completely vital for nearly every single job. Learning a language completely changed my life. I mean, before I went on my year abroad to France, I would probably have been very nervous to stand up in front of a group of people, and I didn't have that much confidence. But going on my year abroad in France really forced me to learn that independence and that resilience that I didn't have before. Learning a language makes you resilient, it makes you confident. It means that you're able to communicate really well in foreign languages, but also it helps you to communicate in your own native tongue. It means that you have a really great capacity for research, for independent work, which is something that employers are really looking for in their people that they're hiring. Something you might not know is that if you want to go to one of the top universities in the UK, like a Russell Group University, for example, Exeter or Durham or Edinburgh, there's lots of others as well, they often will only accept people for lots of their courses if you have a GCSE in a foreign language. And the reason for that is not because you have to be able to speak French or German or Italian or anything. The reason for that is they know that if you have been able to do well in a GCSE in a language, you have that research skill and that independence and that resilience that they require on that course. Even if you want to do something completely different, you want to do medicine, you want to do law, and not do a language at university, having a GCSE in a foreign language will hugely be a big step up to getting you there. In fact, it might be required for you to be able to get on that course that you want to get onto. It shows that you have the capacity for this research, you've learned the skills, and you're able to communicate, which is vital in every single university degree. So if you're maybe more interested in the monetary side of things, have a look at this graph. So you can see here that what people see in these different countries as the most important language. So you've got French in red, Spanish in orange, German in yellow, Italian in green, and Russian in blue. Now you can see here just under halfway down the UK, so we apparently value Spanish as the most important language. Now I know a lot of you would have loved to have learnt Spanish, but unfortunately we don't teach Spanish at the moment at KAA to younger years. But if you have a look across at other countries, it's actually only the UK and France that think Spanish is one of the most important ones. So many other countries, you can see this amount of yellow here. So Denmark, Hungary, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Poland, Sweden, all of these countries think that German is the most important language to learn, because German is a really important business language and it's required by so many different companies if you're going to be doing any kind of international business. It's kind of like the European business language. French is the red, and again there's a lot of countries that think French is really important here. So for example, in Germany and in Spain, they think that French is the most important language to learn. After all, French is spoken across the world in loads and loads of different countries. It's not just spoken in France, it's spoken in Morocco, in the Ivory Coast, lots and lots of other places. So that just shows you that if these other countries in the world think that French and German are so important, they must be on the right lines. And they do far more international deals probably than we do here in the UK. So this is something the UK is really falling behind on, and we need to step up with this. Another reason that you might want to pick GCSE French or German is because of the exciting opportunities that we have for you. So that we run 2 trips normally for GCSE language students. So we have the German trip, which is joint with history to Berlin, and the French trip, which is joint with art to Paris. So the French trip has run twice now, and the German trip has run once, and they have both been huge successes. We've had the best time, and the students have as well. So I'm just going to show you a few pictures from the Paris trip. So we've just got some pictures here of people sat along the Seine on the river in Paris, going to see the Eiffel Tower. We had a really, really lovely time both times that the trip has run. It's been absolutely fantastic, absorbing. It's a really good opportunity to experience proper French culture and just understand what it would be like to live in France, and the food and all of these kind of things, which I'm sure most of you are really interested in. It really has been a fantastic trip, and we hope to be able to run that in the future. The Berlin trip, unfortunately I don't have any pictures of because I didn't find any online. But if you have any other questions about the Berlin trip, then speak to Miss Harnefeld because she has run it the last time. So hopefully, again, we'll be able to run this when you guys have picked GCSEs. So the actual course itself then. So what will you study as part of your French or German GCSE? So one of the best things I think about a GCSE language is it's not just kind of the boring stuff anymore. We're not looking at, like what do you have in your pencil case or what's the weather like, that kind of thing that you might have done at Key Stage 3. We are on to really far more interesting topics now. So we study these 3 themes. So theme 1 is identity and culture. So who are you? What do you like? What do you want to talk about? What are your opinions? Your relationships with your family, whether you think getting married is a good idea or not. And it's not just really sort of shallow opinions, it's proper important things that we're talking about here. The second theme is local, national, international, and global areas of interest. So, in this theme, we talk about things like homelessness and poverty and saving the environment, and things that obviously come across in lots of other subjects as well. So really cross-curricular links here. And then the third theme, current and future study and employment, really helps you if you're considering what you want to do for your job when you get older. If you're looking at your possible career options, you'll be able to consider these and talk about them in French and German as well. So a really interesting course. It's a lot more interesting, I think, than the Key Stage 3 things that you're often learning to sort of set up the basics, because now you've got to that stage in GCSE, obviously you can fly with these really exciting topics. So how does the actual exam work? You're really lucky actually at KAA, because not many schools have structured their Key Stage 3 to be almost exactly the same as the GCSE. You guys basically already do this because you already have every term a listening, speaking, reading and writing exam, and they all count equally already. So you have already done junior mini versions of all of these assessments. So one of the other things is really, really great about French and German GCSE is that there are 2 tiers. So what that means is there's not just one exam for everybody, there's a foundation tier and a higher tier. So to do the foundation tier, you can end up with a grade between 1 and 5, and to do the higher tier, you can end up with a grade between 4 and 9. So obviously, if you're aiming, your target grade is an 8 or a 9, that's what you're aiming to get, then you would do the higher tier. But let's say your target grade was like a 3 or a 4 perhaps, and you just didn't feel with your teacher that you were going to access those higher grades. You can do the foundation paper, and that paper is designed for students who are aiming for grades 1 to 5, and therefore it's an easier paper. So you don't have to go into that exam thinking, I'm not going to be able to do most of this paper, and being really worried about it, because the paper is actually aimed for the people that are taking it. So you'll be able to discuss with your teacher whether you think the foundation or the higher tier is right for you. And obviously in year 10, we'll make that decision with you. So the listening, speaking, reading and writing are all equally weighted. The listening and the reading are very similar to exams that you guys have already done. The writing also very similar. The higher tier just has 3 questions on it, and it's just some writing sort of short answers in French, and then 1 longer answer at the end. The speaking is probably what a lot of you are maybe a bit nervous about, and I know that it can create quite a lot of anxiety, but you guys have already done mini versions of the GCSE speaking exam in year 8 and year 9. It's actually not very long. So the whole exam itself, you will only be in that exam if you do the higher paper for 10 to 12 minutes or the foundation for 7 to 9 minutes. And there's just 3 different parts of the exam, and you'll be with your classroom teacher. So you'll be with whoever normally teaches you your French or German. And I know it sounds quite scary, but our students generally do really, really well in the speaking exam. So everyone says that learning language is difficult, and that is true. It is not an easy GCSE. I'm not going to stand here and say to you that it's really easy, every single person can get a 9 in it, because that's just simply not the case. But we do a lot of things to make sure that you are able to access this language and that you're able to learn and to improve. So we're going to have weekly vocab tests so you can continuously build up on your vocab. We have essays of 90 words and 150 words about social issues. So there are some shorter essays and some longer essays, and we will build up to those. And you have already answered some 150-word answers in year 9. We read and listen to authentic texts. So we will practice this throughout the 2 years of the course. And there's lots of access to online resources. So we use Caboodle in year 10 and 11, which is very similar to ActiveLearn, but actually it's better than ActiveLearn. There's a lot more stuff on there that you can use. And it's a really, really good website. We also use Memrise, which you guys have been using as well to learn your vocab, so you're used to that already. And we also use a really good website called Seneca, which you can have a look at. It's for free. And there's lots of stuff about GCSE topics on there. There's also translation, which again, you guys have done in year 9 and year 8 and year 7. You're used to this already. And we don't just learn about France and Germany. We also learn about, countries where, like, for example, like I said before, about Morocco, about the Ivory Coast, about Algeria. And we don't just learn about language, we also learn about the culture. So the festivals that they hold there and the way that people in these countries lead their lives. And there's loads and loads of support on K Online with videos on different grammar points, quizzes that you can do, so many things on there to help you. So it is a difficult GCSE and it is academic, it is rigorous, but it's also a really exciting, fun GCSE with lots of support in place to support you. So, a lot of you will probably be thinking at the moment with your GCSE choices, whether you want to make money or whether you just want to love your job, kind of thing. I found this article which talks about the amount of money that people can earn from having studied a language. So, if you've studied French, you can earn this amount of money, £32,646 a year. And there are currently in the world, in the UK, just over 6,000 jobs where they're looking for people who can speak French. So those are open at the moment. In German, a little bit more, an annual salary there, 34,500. Germany is one of Britain's biggest trade partners, and it has strong financial services and business ties with the UK. So often jobs will be paid more if you can speak German, and they are in really high demand. So it will help you to get a job even if unemployment is high. There are also bonuses here, so the amount of money that you can earn on top of the normal salary for having spoken these languages. So you can actually see here the average, which is the pink line, and then Spanish is below the average. So actually learning Spanish does not necessarily help you to get a good job, which is why KA focuses on French and German. But then French there is higher than the average and German is way higher than the average. So you will be paid more if you take these language GCSEs. There is also a really alarming shortage of foreign language skills in the UK. Some people think that with Brexit, we're going to stop completely speaking to other countries, and that's not the case at all. We're still going to need to speak to them a lot. We're still going to need to do business deals with them, maybe even more so now that the EU isn't there to support us. So we need to make sure that languages are really, really popular, because otherwise the UK is going to lose this huge talent. So we need students to be taking these forward, making this better next generation that can speak these languages. It can also be brilliant for you. Learning a language slows your brain aging, so it actually makes you stay more switched on and more intelligent for longer in your life. Being bilingual, which means speaking at least 2 languages, it boosts your brain power. There are studies that show that speaking a foreign language can actually make you more intelligent. So, what makes a successful GCSE candidate? All of these things. Someone who, really likes the challenge, wants to work independently and have a go at these exciting, interesting tasks. Someone who likes talking, which I know a lot of you do, a very good GCSE for you. Someone who wants to learn about other people's lives and other cultures. And lastly, as well, someone who is not afraid of hard work. As I said before, a GCSE in a language is not easy, but it is something that is really, really rewarding. So, if you want to keep your options open for the future, you don't know maybe what you want to do at university yet, or if you want to go to university, languages can really, really easily tack on to any other subject. They're a great one. If you are just really inquiring, you want to learn more, it's a great option for you. If you ever want to work abroad, it's a requirement almost for you. If you want new skills that can therefore help you learn other languages, let's say you've always wanted to learn Italian or Russian or Spanish, you can use these skills that you get in this GCSE to help you with that. It will enhance your employment prospects. It will allow you to be resourceful, independent and creative. It is a continuation of what you've already done, and it's a life skill. All of the other GCSEs is an exam, really. But French and German is a life skill that you will have with you for the rest of your life. So if you have any other questions, I've tried to answer as many questions as I sort of normally get asked in this video. If you have any other questions about picking a language, this is my email address here, s.pedley@ka.org.uk, or obviously you can come and find me at any point, and I'd be more than happy to discuss with you whether I think it would be the right choice for you, or if you've got any questions or concerns about any of these things. Thank you so much for listening to this today. Best of luck making your GCSE choices, and I hope lots and lots of you pick the fantastic subject that is French and German. Merci, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.